Good morning, my friends. This is VJ Franz K with a brush marker review. Today we are looking at BIC Intensity. This is another example of a new trend of making brush markers. Every brand is making their own version of brush markers, and I like that a lot because previously brush markers were kind of a niche market, and so there wouldn't be as many examples for us to try, but now there are plenty, and that's great. So let's take one of these out. Once again, they're going for a double-ended design. These are smaller and narrower than others that I've tried, and on one end it is a fine felt-tip marker, but I got these for the brush. So let's look at the brush. There it is, a fairly nice brush tip, and try it down to a fine line, or make a thin line or a thick line using the brush marker. So that is about as thick as you can go. A thin line, yes, this is somewhat similar to the Flare dual brush that we looked at recently. Quite similar, except this is a bit smaller and more compact, you might say. Appears to be also watercolor rather than being so-called permanent marker. Let's see. It's meant for calligraphy and journaling. You can see water-based ink, there it is. Odor-free. Yes, I don't notice any odor, but most markers that are water-based do not have a particular odor, so that's to be expected. So here, on this side, I have some glossy photo printer paper. Wow, it looks very good and very dark on this printer paper, and I like working with ink, and so I have often enjoyed using the printer paper to do my work. It receives it so well. Notice how the ink, the color is so rich. And then of course on darker paper it's additive mixing like watercolor paint. This is Bristol paper in the center. So this is dark, colorful art paper. That's good. I didn't know what to expect when I got these, but they are also quite good. And I'll enjoy using all of the 12 colors here. I'll try this bright orange. Compare it. That is a nice rich orange, wouldn't you say? It does have a sort of watercolor blendy feel to it, and you know, I hate to possibly smear the colors together, but I'll go across what happens? Oh, wow, it smears a lot. That's interesting. Even though, to be fair, I didn't let this sit there and dry for a long time between the colors. If I do that over here, oh, interesting. Interesting. Wow, it hardly smeared at all on this side when I took it across the darker line there. Of course, you can't expect much using a brighter color on darker paper with these. Now that is where you need a paint marker to possibly do a lighter color over a darker area there. See, I'll move these up. You probably would not use these markers on wood, but I have this test piece of wood that I've been testing on, so I'll just give it a try, see what happens. Looks okay. Pretty much like the paper. Actually, isn't paper just super thin wood, if you think about it? Or finely transformed wood when you get down to it. So, yeah, the blue also very dark. Let's see, what third color will I bring out? Looks good. They're emphasizing the idea of it being used for calligraphy. Of course, anything usable for calligraphy is also often usable for graffiti style art, and I could see these used on that, but because they are water-based markers, they're not the sort of outdoor mark on wall graffiti stuff. Interesting. Okay, so the purple is so dark on the printer paper you can almost not perceive it being purple or violet or whatever color you describe this as. But then here on the Bristol paper, it is clearly visible as dark purple or violet. It's a nice color. Try taking it across this lighter color, and it doesn't seem to have much effect, as you would expect. So with the brush tip, if you get good at it, if you use a fine touch, then you can get a very, very thin line with the brush tip, and meanwhile the standard felt tip, wow, that is quite thin. You can get fine lines for detail. That's good. Once again, I wish they included 2 black markers, because if you want to do outlining, if you want to fill in large areas of shadow, you may need more black ink than other colors, especially doing something like comic art. But in the end, I've ended up using other dark colors to replace a dark color if I'm out at that time. Again, across this dark color, you can still see a little purple there, but it's not very evident where that is or is not. Overall, I'm going to give these a good rating in general, and I'll wait a few weeks of using them to give my final rating, but quite good. I'm satisfied with them, and just know that it is watercolor ink, so don't expect it to do things that watercolor ink doesn't do. but using it primarily on various kinds of paper should be fine. I don't expect it will, go on plastic and other things like that very well, but you can have a great time doing calligraphy. I like to use it for comic style art also. It's very, once I didn't like brush markers at first for comic art, but once you understand how to use it, it becomes so valuable and even more expressive in terms of getting a character to look a certain way. I'll just I have this blue here, a blue rabbit. Why not? Actually, I need to pull this down so it's in the camera's view here. But here's a blue rabbit. I can do the thick line for the one side of his ear, and then a thinner line for the other side to really sort of and do a thin to thick eyebrow there for his eyes. There's his eyes. Got a smile, his teeth, and these little lines for whiskers. But if I had to do that with just the narrow tip, that would have, look at that. It pales by comparison, you know what I mean? In terms of expressiveness. And indeed, a lot of animation cartoons are done with uniform lines just because it's easier. It's easier to keep everything uniform in animation drawings for all the lines to be the same. But how much is lost from the beauty of being able to really use that brush line. BIC Intensity. They've done it again. They have good permanent, I guess alcohol-based markers out there also that are for Sharpie marker style duties, and the price is always competitive, so you're not going to go wrong with any of these, I would say. There are more good marker choices available to you now than I can ever remember there being in the past. So, wow. You have no excuse not to go out and draw every single day and just have a wonderful time. So, with that in mind, I'll say I like these BIC Intensity brush markers. They're great, and you'll be pleased if you get these. And we are going to keep looking at a variety of other markers here, so make sure to subscribe, give me your comments and questions. On my channel, I cover creative tech, and as I've said before, markers and paper and everything, it does count as technology, even if it's not electronic. It's like making these pens just as performance, making pens that have this super high performance quality. That is a technological feat, a miracle in its own right, you might say. So anyway, I count that. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.